Today I'm showing you paper bag review of 2 Weeks with the Queen. But first, a quick plot overview.
Starts with Luke collapsing during Christmas, which is when we discover that Luke has cancer and is going to die. Because the parents don't feel that Colin can cope with it, being a young boy, they send him to live with his aunt and uncle. But he doesn't accept that, so he decides he's going to save Luke by seeing the Queen and getting her to help him find the best doctor in the world. That doesn't work out so well, so he finds the London hospital himself, and that's where he meets Ted and Griff. And through his friendship with these two people, one of whom is dying, he comes to understand that sometimes you can't fight death. The best you can do is be there for the people around you. And he decides he wants to be back there for Luke as Luke comes to his final moments. And he succeeds in doing that, getting on a plane with the help of Ted, and reunites with
Lots
Luke.
of symbolism in this story. There's the symbolism of the planes, which represents the journey. It's Colin's journey from childhood to reality. And it's also closely associated with his brother. So it marks the beginning where he's in denial, he travels over, and it marks his return where he's become somebody a little bit more realistic about life. There's also the symbolism of mandarins and tangerines in this novel. So it's about the valuing of compassion, nurturing and love. Very, very much part of the lesson that Colin has to learn. You'll remember that there are two really important times when they use them in the novel. There's when Ted comes to tea after the death of Griff, and Colin's Aunt Iris says to him, "Here, love," she said, "have one of these." And she passes him one of the tangerines. And it's, you know, the combination of the word love and also the act of nurturing and giving is part of how she signals to him that she's here for him, she's prepared to listen to him cry. And it's the first time that Colin actually cries about his brother Luke, allowing him to accept that Luke is going to die. This one's a bit dark. It's the idea that death is part of life. Now, when Colin accepts that, people around him don't necessarily give him a chance to say that. So when he says to his aunt and uncle he wants to go back, they say, "You don't really want to go back to all that, do you?" said Uncle Bob. And he just answers quietly, "Yes." He is. He feels he is old enough to go back and face death, and that it's important to him that he do that. Now, part of that journey is him giving up, you know, the fantasy that he can somehow fight death, that he can somehow, you know, save his brother from what is inevitably the end of his life. When he does eventually get the letter from the Queen and reads it in the plane as part of his journey, one of the things that the Queen's letter says is, "We wish your brother a speedy recovery." Colin is shown to leave that letter in the ashtray because it's rubbish. He realises something that the world is not acknowledging in that letter, which is that his brother's going to die and nobody else is going to help him. There's nothing that can be done about that. And it's part of him being an adult, symbolically leaving that letter behind on the plane, on the journey. Now finally, let's look at the last thing that all the way through, I shouldn't say the last thing, it's actually part of it that's been valued, which is love. This is what can really help Colin's brother Luke, and is what helped Griff in his final moments. And the novel actually ends with showing that joyous moment. They don't show with the death of the brother, they don't end with the death of the brother, they end with the brother flinging his arms around his neck, squealing his name joyously. So what we're told that is valued, and the idea that is important, is that love of your family around you, you know, particularly towards the end. So hope you enjoy the novel. It's really good, highly recommend it. Tells some important things about life and looks at somebody coming to terms with something that's really quite difficult, but has generally a positive message, which is that while we can't always stop bad things happening in our life, having surrounded by people who love us can really make the difference. Just to show you my palm cards for this activity, you'll notice that all I had on them
was what order they were going to be in, what they referred to in terms of the assessment, and also in some cases I had direct quotes from the novel so that I could have those to refer to while I spoke about the objects.